So now my first point is that nearly all of this flows from the Cold War, and it flows from the GI Bill. The whole feminist movement in the art flows from the fact that the GI Bill mostly sent men to school, quite obviously, because men were most GIs were men. So, and that was a restructuring that had to be done. And today, honestly, I think it would have probably happened anyway, but give the Gorilla Girl some credit. And I really love noisy women in any case. And I think that the very peculiar things have happened now because, for instance, with the emphasis on gay artists, of whom there are quite a few, and on gay professors, of whom there are almost none, because the university is the last bastion of patriarchy, and all of the gay guys in the art world are selling art for Ms. Westwater, or they're swanning across the floor at Miami. We haven't really changed anything. The university is still a bastion of hell. The corporations are still a bastion of hell. There are usually some women that have higher positions in universities than before, but not so you would count. And in the general culture, I think that the whole business of accommodating identities has been a very great thing. In the art world, it's only got us to this mess that we're in. I had a student, a black kid, when I was in New Mexico, teaching in New Mexico, and he was pretty good. He kind of did sort of a Shanti meets Larry Zox kind of abstraction, and they were very prissy and they were very nice. And I asked him, I said, okay, this is probably the only, and this was 10 years ago, this is the only time you're ever going to get bumps for being black in the art world. So you should apply for all of these awards, because you'll get one, And he said, no, I won't. And I said, why? He says, because these are abstract paintings and they're not about being black. He said, I have done everything. He said, I tried sending in my paintings and kind of peeking out from behind so they could see my little black face. But then they put tape over my face when they showed them. He said, I tried giving them titles like Homage to Marcus Garvey, and that didn't work anything. He said, the only way I can get money for being black is to confess about my drunken grandmother. And he was dead right. And how do you get a grant for being Korean? By writing about your Korean grandmother. How do you get a grant for being a woman? By taking pictures of your vagina. Or those videos. I love those. Beaver videos, right. And some of my faves. I do recommend the bikini wax, but my point is, we haven't done anything. All we have done as a bunch of white people is to give people of color money if they will confess their secrets to us. That's freaking outrageous. That's contemptible. Oh, that's the menstrual blood of a black woman. I mean, come on, guys. This is perfectly ridiculous. But that's what we do because we're interested in public virtue. Now, one of the ways this comes about is because of the NEA. How did the NEA change all that? Well, for one, how was the NEA funded? Anybody know? The NEA was funded by suppressing the tax deductions that private collectors got when they gave art to museums. Now, I lived on that deduction when I was a dealer. You'd sell something for $1,000 and give it to the Whitney the next year for $5. Everybody got it done. But then they made it exponentially harder for a private collector to give money to a museum. Not only that, the NEA gave money to museums to buy what they want. And so then I have some friends, ladies, nice ladies in Pasadena, who always save up money to buy work to give to MoCA, you know. And so 2 years ago they called up and said, oh, we want to give you a John McCracken. I'd take a John McCracken. And then Paul Schimel says, oh, no. Let us have a meeting and we'll tell you what you can buy to give us. In other words, patronage was resided in the museum. And patronage from the government moved from the collectors to the museums. This meant an absolute collapse of private patronage for the museums. This means every time a museum opens up, they've got to fill the freaking stands. So I can't even see the Vermeer I just fought my way through a subway crowd to get close to. You know, all the museums are totally full because we do box office today. You know, it's like when I was a kid, I could go to the Met and wander around for hours and never see anybody. You know what I mean? It was great. I could have brought my skateboard. I don't think I could have, but that's an exaggeration. But why was the NEA during Nixon's realm expanded 3 times its size? Well, you could go to UCLA and read John Haldeman's private papers, which I did, and there is a scene in there in which Haldeman goes running into Nixon and said, how in the world, why are you expanding the NEA 3 times? And Nixon said, I am going to buy the art world. I'm going to get back at all those West Side Jews that control the art world. I'm going to take the art world over through the institutions and totally marginalize the private collectors. I'm going to make it impossible for them to give art to the museums. And he did. And we were all so happy. More against the collectors that we hate. More for Richard Nixon, whom we love. And more money for professors in Mississippi to build a spa. Because the NEAs, as you will remember, were prorated across the whole of the United States. There had to be NEA grants granted in Montana and Mississippi. Do you understand how much money, waste of money that was? Do you know how much waste of my time that was? Trying to decide which printmaker in Mississippi was most deserving of government funding. Do you realize how contemptible the whole affair was? And this is what we live with. We have an underground totally destroyed. We have everybody running to the mainstream, trailing rosebuds so they can all fit in, and gay people can hang out with hedge funders, and Ted Cruz will be our friend, and it's all going to be great. We'll all just be in here, and none of us will ever be outside again. And no art will ever deal with anything but social issues again. And we will therefore have to accompany our art like we accompany our elderly aunties to shows to explain it. And then we will have to have official explainers from universities to come explain our explanation. And this will go on indefinitely. No one will ever give a damn about it again. Do you understand what I'm saying? No one will ever care about art again. It's over. And it really starts with really small things, like putting professors in control of students, putting people like me in control of people who apply for grants, of purporting to integrate gay artists into the mainstream, of purporting to integrate women artists into the mainstream, of breaking up the coalition that forms the hardcore of the art world. And when I got into the art world, as Frederica will testify, there were 6,000 serious people who were heavily medicated and didn't have a job. That was it. You know, that was the whole damn thing. Add London, maybe another 15. Now, I would tell you that if you counted up the same kind of people right now, how many people would there be? 6,000. The percentage of serious, committed people who are there voluntarily, who are not getting paid for answering the phone, who are not getting benefits, who don't get off to take the kids to soccer, who don't have to go to faculty meetings, 6,000 max. This doesn't count all the rich artists who are swanning around in Belgium, but better there than here. But my point is that people say, why did you retire from the art world? How could I not? You know, what am I going to write about? Nothing's any better than the next thing. A lot of things are worse than the next thing. It's a very peculiar kind of educational spin there. But why would you teach anybody art? What are you going to teach them? Are you going to get them to make objects that they can take into the world? You are not. When you were in school, you learned how to make a 79 Dodson. You're going to teach your students to make a fucking 79 Dodson because that's all you know how to make, and then you're going to go to to the meeting of the graduate committee and let everybody have tenure and everybody have an MFA because, as I have heard about 20 times in my academic life, just move them on through. Just move them on through. I'm sitting there going, no, my God, this is awful. Just move them on through. And that's what's happening. Also what's happening is that, and I'll finish this up here, but it's just, when I was at the University of New Mexico, they have 85 graduate students. Now, there should not be 85 graduate students in this entire nation. Do you understand? And why do they have 85 graduate students? Because if you're a faculty member, you get extra money if you're on the graduate faculty. So they give you extra money and they put you on the graduate faculty, and there is a state law that says they have to have 5 graduate students for every member of the graduate faculty. So they let in 85 people, not all of whom have matching socks. You understand? I mean, and it's just an absolutely undoable, unwinnable morass. And it's no better at Brown, and it's no better at Yale, and it's probably no better here at Rice. But it's where people come to try their cell phones. But anyway, little joke there. I'm doing some jokes here toward the last. But anyway. My point is that I am not one of you. I'm an outsider person, and I've made a lot of terrible mistakes in my life, the first of which was to go into the art world. But it was, for 4 years, it was great. You know, I could go to New York and have lunch at La Pléiade with Leo, and I could go down to Max's and, and look at Hannah's cute little tits and have a good time, smoke dope with Mary, and it was really kind of okay, and everybody would go back and work real hard, and then somebody would do well, and we would all hate their guts, and just sort of standard art world stuff. But we can't do this anymore. We have no art history. We have art professors and administrators and curators and determining art histories, and the curators are hanging out with Kim Kardashian, for Christ's sake, or Jay-Z, or Kanye West. Why do we think this is important? I remember going to openings all the time. There would be Dennis Hopper, there would be David Bowie, there would be the standard, art trash crowd, and you would say, oh, there's Dennis, there's David. Now it's a freaking explosion of paparazzi. But we've totally opened our hearts to the American mainstream, and there we are, But the fact remains, and I will conclude with this, that the first rule that I went into the art world with still applies. The only thing that will not be denied is that which is freaking undeniable. Everything else will be shuttled to the side. And that will work regardless of the time or the place. Anything undeniable will not be denied. And I thank you for that. I hope I didn't talk too long. Thank you. I'll answer questions. Anybody need any career advice? I will answer questions, or maybe we'll meet at the reception and answer questions. Oh, I have to go sign things. Okay, great. This would, only some of this is in the book. A lot of this stuff was just free. Thank you.
Thanks.
Now, who was I going to sign this for?